KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 1 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Britt Johnson. KSL's top story this hour, Utah has more than 140 new law enforcement officers.
This morning, Governor Spencer Cox swore in the first officers of the new Department of Natural Resources Division of Law Enforcement. Created by the legislature last year, this new group of officers consolidates other departments. Joel Ferry is the executive director for the Utah Department of Natural Resources.
It's very unique law enforcement work. It's not for anybody. It's not for the faint of heart. To be out in the wild, alone, protecting and standing up for these resources of Utah, for the people of Utah, is a big challenge. And we appreciate the work that you do.
Governor Cox says this new division was recommended in 4 previous audits as a way of making wildland and wetland law enforcement more efficient. Don Brinkerhoff, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden and President-elect Donald Trump's teams putting on a united front in Gaza ceasefire negotiations, according to the White House today.
We are now at a pivotal point in the negotiations for a hostage deal and ceasefire in Gaza.
That was White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan saying they are close to a deal and it could get done this week, but timing is subject to change. Your money at this moment, the Dow is up 263 points, but the S&P has lost 4 points and the NASDAQ is off by 141 points. Coming up, January temperatures are here. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 101.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Attention home buyers, want to save hundreds on your mortgage payment or buy a bigger, nicer home? Visit SaveRight.com. This is Rod with the SaveRight team at Realty Path. SaveRight, our name says it all. SaveRight real estate clients often save $300 to $600 a month on their mortgage. Life of loan savings can be over $300,000. SaveRight clients qualify for and buy bigger, nicer homes. Interest rates are around 7%. SaveRight clients can get fixed rates in the 5s. Our affiliate lender makes it all possible. You can even start with a rate in the 2s. If you're buying or selling a home in Utah, save a ton of money. Hire the SaveRight team of realtors. Visit SaveRight.com for more information.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Lowe's knows how to help make your Super Bowl 59 party a touchdown. Let us help you prep your home to host with top brands like Charbroil, Blackstone, and LG, so you can be the MVP of game day. Plus, use the Lowe's app to find what you need for a seamless shopping run. Or huddle up with our Lowe's Red Vest associates to help make all your game time hosting decisions.
Take advantage of Yes Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric's $99 or it's free mainline drain clearing special. That's right, $99 or it's free. Feel secure knowing the trusted professionals at Yes guarantee that if we can't clear it, you don't pay for it. Whether it's a small clog or a larger mainline sewer drain issue, the experienced technicians at Yes are ready to solve all of your drain problems. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep. But first, take time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. End the days of a poor night's sleep. With offices from Clearfield to St. George, Sound Sleep will help. Call Sound Sleep at 801-716-8672 today.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by My Style Checking from Mountain America Credit Union. Here's Ricky Meese.
We've had delays southbound I-15 between the I-84 junction in Riverdale down to Sunset. Whatever had clogged the commute has now been moved out of traffic on southbound I-15 past Roy. We're just waiting for these residual backups to clear out. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The high today, only 33 degrees. Our overnight temperatures for the next few days will hover around 20 degrees, and we'll have clear to partly clear skies all week. Right now, it's 29 degrees and cloudy. I'm Britt Johnson from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Welcome to Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. This is Taylor Morgan, partner at Morgan May Public Affairs, alongside Aaron Ryder, local attorney and recent Republican nominee for Sully County Mayor. Aaron, great to be with you. You have been hosting here earlier with Dave Noriega. Heard you a little bit earlier on the radio, so I'm excited now to team up with you for Inside Sources. We have a lot of great, important, interesting stories we need to cover, and of course, no better place to start, Aaron, than looking ahead to the 2025 Legislative General Session, which kicks off a week from tomorrow.
Yep. It's exciting.
Have you spent much time around the session or up at the Capitol during the session as an attorney, right, practicing with a firm here in Salt Lake City, working mostly as a corporate lawyer? Is that right?
Yeah.
Did you ever have to engage with legislators in that way?
Not directly. I part of the practice group that I was part of before I ran did do some lobbying work and represented some clients in that matter. So I did help actually write some draft legislation, some proposed legislation, but really, that was all done behind the scenes.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, we have seen in the last few years, we have seen Utah legislators come out of the gate very, very quickly. In the very first few days or the first week or two of the legislative session each year, they have come out hot with priority legislation ready to go, voted on it, passed things out very, very quickly in the very first few days of the session. Now, that has had a little bit of a blowback effect with the public. Right? Voters have felt in the last few years that are these decisions happening without us knowing? Are these happening too quickly? Where is the opportunity to have input as a voter and a constituent? So I think, Aaron, we are seeing Utah lawmakers try to get ahead of that a little bit, especially this year. Last week, the Senate Majority Caucus held a press conference and sent out a press release articulating their top priorities, trying to kind of frame the session and set expectations, I think, a little bit in voters' minds. Well, starting just any minute, and we may go to it live when it does begin, the House Majority Caucus now is holding a press conference today, doing the same thing, talking about their priorities, setting expectations, communicating with voters. It's not something we've always seen them do. I think it's encouraging. I like it. I don't know, however, how much we're getting. I don't know if it's a superficial exercise or if they're really telling voters what they plan to do.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And you know, let me ask you this, Taylor, with your experience doing a lot of work with the legislature, what should sort of the average citizen expect with regard to how the legislature runs the session? So you're talking about input, you're talking about timing, these big bills come out right at the beginning of the session. Well, what should someone expect with that? Should there be public debate? If you have an opinion on a bill, should you be able to voice that opinion before it's voted on? How does that process really work?
Yeah, absolutely. There is a process. There is a requirement in the legislative process for every bill that has a period for mandatory public input. That happens primarily at the committee level with the standing committees during the session. Voters can go to the Capitol in person. They can testify. They can speak for or against a bill at a committee hearing. They can also do that during the interim process. There's a lot of ways, Aaron. Sometimes things can happen pretty quickly, though, and not all voters may be aware of the timeline or the scheduling or all of that. So sometimes it can feel hard to have real input in that process. I would say that a lot of the meat of the work, a lot of the details are really worked out, not during the session, but really during the interim.
Well, that was my next question.
Yeah.
When are these discussions really happening? You know, if they're coming out and passing these big bills right at the beginning of the session, I would expect it would be logical that they've already basically got those ready to go.
Yeah. A lot of the more complicated policy bills, technical bills, a lot of those are worked out through the interim committee process. The interim meetings happen every month from April to November. They take July off. But every month, legislators are meeting in the interim and really spending a lot of time on complicated bills and issues. Interim committees vote to recommend bills for the general session. So a lot of the bills that we do see pass early and easily at the Capitol, those are often interim recommended bills. So we may be down in the weeds, right? We're really kind of nerding out on the process here. I do think it's important.
But I think it's helpful.
Yeah. Voters, you can find, listeners, you can find out everything about the legislative process, the scheduling, find out how you can, submit your input, contact your legislator as a constituent. All of that is really easy to find at le.utah.gov. Great website, really easy to navigate and use.
And I'll also say, too, that, the legislators that I've spoken to, they want people to call. They want their constituents to come and share their opinions on things and generally try to be really responsive to that. And during the session, there's often additional help. They all have interns and people who are there to help with that. So, again, just something that I'm on the board of a group called Utah Women Run, and we try and encourage particularly women to really get involved in the advocacy process here. So if there's a bill that's coming up that you have questions about, concerns about, an opinion about, don't hesitate to reach out to your legislator because they're actually a lot more accessible than people think they are.
Oh, absolutely right. And they really do rely on input for these bills. They're citizen legislators. They have day jobs. They don't legislate full-time. Really, they're only doing it full-time for 45 days a year during the session. Outside of this, they don't have paid staff. They have an intern during the session, but they really do rely on input and primarily from constituents.
Yeah, and so I think it's going to be really interesting to see what this press conference has to say today. What we're expecting is to hear some of the priorities for the House side. As Taylor mentioned, we've already heard some of the priorities from the Senate side. Taylor, anything from the Senate side that we heard last week that you thought might be interesting or that we might also look to the House to see if the House has anything similar?
Yeah, I think we're going to hear a lot of talk about elections. We are going to hear them talk about tax cuts. The details of that are not quite clear. Energy is a top priority by the Senate majority and also, I think, by the House. That'll be interesting to see what the House majority has to say about that. And we're just, listeners, stay with us here because as soon as the press conference begins, the press conference by the House Majority Caucus in the Utah State House of Representatives, it appears as if Speaker Mike Schultz has stepped into the room. And so any moment here, we'll be breaking live to that press conference, Aaron. But I was saying energy is a priority. Water is, of course, a priority.
You think housing?
Affordable housing is always a top priority. And public safety. Public safety will be big. Education cuts to higher ed, Aaron. I think we're going to see some significant cuts to funding of higher education here in the state of Utah. And that is going to help, I think, pay for a tax cut, not just the governor's recommended state income tax elimination on Social Security benefits, but an even broader state income tax reduction, I think, is what they're hoping to accomplish this session.
Yeah. Well, like Taylor said, we're just waiting here for this press conference to begin. And as soon as it does, we'll listen in live on that, and then we'll have some additional thoughts after the press conference is over. It's a big deal, right? We've got 1 week until the Utah legislative session begins. A lot happens in that 45 days. On average, how many bills get passed through the legislative session every year?
It seems to double almost
I know.
every year, Aaron.
I know.
I think last year 500 or 600.
Yeah, we're
bills
talking hundreds of bills
passing. There were maybe a couple thousand that were actually titled, and there's a lot of bills and a lot of things to track. And the easiest way to find all of that is at le.utah.gov. you can search bills. You can search them by lawmaker, by senator, by representative. You can also search them by issue topic. And then you can actually sign up to track all those bills and be notified when anything happens on them. Stay right here, listeners. We're going to take a quick break, but after the break, we will be taking you live to the press conference on Utah's Capitol Hill.
The newest part of your morning, and still so familiar.
When you wake up and listen to a radio show, it's like you're a part of a family. You're listening in on people you know, and it's magnificent that Andy Farnsworth is sitting in the chair because he's someone we know.
Utah's Morning News. Andy Farnsworth joins Amanda Dixon to bring you important news in the car. 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Tay-Tay was a typical girl that loved pink, singing, and all kinds of animals. At 3 years old, she tumbled off a horse and received a traumatic brain injury. Her family prayed for a miracle, and when they realized their daughter would not survive, they made the decision to donate her organs. Because of her donation, 4 other people received her organs and tissue, allowing others to live. Go to DonorConnect.life and read about what it takes to become a donor. Did you know many people think that they're too old and not in good enough health to be a donor? Anyone can be a donor. If you were told that it could save a life for someone close to you, or even a stranger, would you please donate? Finding out more on why you should become a donor is pretty easy. DonorConnect.life can walk you through the process and what it takes to simply sign up. Check yes to become a donor when you renew your driver's license. Give hope, heal life. DonorConnect.life.
Is your financial advisor offering you up to a 30% upfront bonus? Are they promising you up to 10% growth per year guaranteed for your retirement income? If not, you need a new financial advisor. I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth. If you plan to retire within the next 10 years, don't wait only to find out it's too late. I've seen hard-working folks like you retire only to be required to go back to work, all because their advisor told them guarantees like these were too good to be true. They're not. That's up to $30,000 up front or up to $10,000 per year on $100,000, all guaranteed for retirement income. Don't work when you're supposed to be retired. And if any financial advisor tells you it's too good to be true, they simply don't have the options we do. Call Trajan today at 801-899-7600.
Annuity guarantees are based on the claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company.
Do you have any idea how hard your heating system has to work when your old windows let the cold air seep in? Your energy bill is going through the roof. But there's an answer, and it comes from Advanced Window Products. For 38 years, they've been building state-of-the-art insulated windows and frames, and every one of them is built right here in Utah. So let me explain why it's cost-effective to call them for new windows right now. First, you'll see a significant drop in your energy bills, winter and summer, and right now, call Advanced Windows and you'll get $2,500 off on 10 windows or more. Triple-coated, argon-filled and sealed double-pane insulated glass that'll keep out the cold, and custom frames in any style, any color. Advanced Windows offers a 60-month, 0% interest payment plan, and they even offer a plan with no payment, no interest for 24 months. Plus, that $2,500 off right now. Call for a no-pressure consultation, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. This is Erin Ryder here with Taylor Morgan. We are 8 days away from the Utah Legislative General Session. And right now, actually, the House majority is convening a press conference to talk about some of their priorities. So we are going to toss it to them and hear what they have to say.
So we all know that education is critical, even crucial, for improving lives and developing a skilled workforce and fostering innovation. Utah's strong education system is reflected in our excellent student outcomes, exceptional teachers, and strong family engagement. This session, we are excited to invest in career and technical education programs, reduce burdens for students, teachers, and parents, expand individualized learning opportunities, reinvest in higher education funding to maximize values for students and taxpayers, streamline and align degree programs with Utah's pressing workforce needs, and increase investments in technical education. The Utah House Majority Caucus is committed to providing an education system from kindergarten to post-secondary certificates and degrees that excels at preparing the rising generation for both the challenges and opportunities of the modern world. And we look forward to the work that will be done this session. I'll now turn the time over to Representative Karen Peterson.
Hi, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to talk a little bit about affordability. So as you've probably heard, Utah tops almost every list of successful states, no matter the metric. We're number one in private sector job growth, for entrepreneurship, for upward mobility, and more. And our vibrant economy comes from our hardworking and innovative Utahns and is supported by common sense policies that keep government out of the way. But the message we have heard from our constituents loud and clear is that life in Utah has gotten too damn expensive. If we want to support families and bolster the economy, we have to act. So this year, we'll be focusing on lowering taxes, supporting the American dream of home ownership, and strengthening business-friendly policies. The Utah Majority Caucus is committed to protecting taxpayer dollars, supporting economic strength, easing financial burdens, and fostering lasting prosperity here in the Beehive State. So we look forward to those conversations with our taxpayers and with each of you. And I'll turn the time over to Casey.
Thank you. As we look to the future in this state, it's important that we look to the past. Remember, within days of settling this valley, it was those pioneers that decided that the next step was to plan a city that was bigger than all those that had come on that wagon train, and to set the infrastructure in place for a future for this state. And we are the beneficiaries of that heritage. As we look to the forward into the future, we have to have that same spirit. We have to plan where we're going to get our power from, how we're going to keep the lights on. A plan that must include future technologies such as nuclear as we move forward. We have to make sure that there are roads in this state, that gridlock is not something that limits us as we grow. And for me, in this state, most importantly, water. We need to ensure that here there is enough water to allow for all of those things that this state requires. And that's everything from agriculture to the Great Salt Lake. I look forward to a session that's going to continue on the great tradition and legacy of this state, led primarily by the House. And I will now turn it over to Representative Lisenby.
Thank you. Utah's communities are some of the safest in the nation. However, we are confronting new challenges like the south of the border crisis, including gang violence.
We are listening live to a press conference on Utah's Capitol Hill by the House Majority Caucus. We heard briefly from House Speaker Mike Schultz, from Representative Candace Perucci. We just heard from Representative Casey Snyder, and now we are listening live to Representative Carrie Ann Lisenby articulate some of the priorities of the House Caucus going into this year's session.
Key to preserving Utah's high quality of life. We'll ensure our communities stay safe by targeting gangs and other organized criminal groups, increasing criminal penalties and resources to combat fentanyl trafficking, helping offenders successfully reintegrate after paying their debt to society, cracking down on illegal immigrants who commit crimes in the Beehive State, and requiring local governments to enforce state and local laws. We're committed to keeping all of our communities safe so that our kids, families, and businesses can continue to love calling Utah home. I'll now turn the time to Representative Brooks.
Thank you. Utahns deserve an effective and responsive government, both at the state and at the federal level. This session, we're going to continue to fight against federal overreach by standing for Utah lands and pushing it back against these terrible and onerous federal regulations that are causing problems here in the state. We're also going to create a need to create some autonomy on Utah to be able to do what's best for Utahns and for our own needs. We've heard concerns about elections. We've all heard them. We're here to make sure that we can ensure security and transparency in our Utah elections by strengthening the election process and implementing the improvements that have been recommended by the 2024 legislative audits. We'll work hard also to make sure that all of our government agencies are accountable, that they're providing the best resources and experience to the Utahns, and holding them accountable as well, and making sure they're using our tax dollars wisely. We want to make sure that all Utahns enjoy an efficient, a responsible, and a transparent government. Speaker Schultz.
Representatives, thank you. I just want to thank everybody for taking time out of their schedule today. Many of these representatives came up today. This was their only meeting, and they wanted to be here today and stand with us and talk about what we see as the most important things to the state of Utah and what we're hearing from our constituents. So thank you all for taking time out of your day to be up here with us. Look, we hope this policy roadmap reflects Utahns' voices and builds upon our state's rock-solid foundation as the best managed, most philanthropic, happiest, and freest state in the nation. Again, this is all on our website, so please go to house.utleg.gov or scan the QR code to learn more. The session starts in just 8 days. We look forward to the 45 days that follow that once the session starts. We look forward to discussing these policies, making it the priority, and working through individual bills to create and help maintain Utah as the best managed state in the nation, but also the best state in the nation to live in. We live in an unbelievable, amazing state. We want to make sure that we keep it that way. So with that, we're going to open it up to a few questions. I just ask the questions that you do ask, that we don't get specific.
We have been listening to House Speaker Mike Schultz, amongst other representatives from the Utah State House, talking about some of their priorities for the legislative session. Taylor, what do you think so far about what we've heard?
Well, I think it's interesting that they're really hitting on all the high notes, Aaron, as we predicted, as we expected, talking about education, talking about quality life and affordability here in Utah, infrastructure, water, energy. I have to say I called it on nuclear power.
You did.
That is going to be a big deal this session.
Yeah,
I think,
it
Aaron.
is.
Really interested to track that. That is something we have seen go forward in some surrounding states. With mixed results, to be fair. It's certainly not something I'm an expert on, but I do think legislators are very serious about nuclear power here in the state of Utah is a way to provide affordable energy for the growth that we're having.
And clean energy, really.
Yeah, clean energy, yeah. Also, safe communities is something that we heard Representative Carrie Ann Lisenby talk about. I am intrigued, Aaron, by their talk about elections.
Yeah, this was Representative Brooks that talked about this.
Yeah, we've heard a lot of talk about elections. Aaron, everything from eliminating Utah's automatic vote by mail process to taking election supervision administration away from the lieutenant governor's office to create a new state office of elections with a director that would be appointed by the Speaker of the House, the Senate President, the governor, the Attorney General, and the auditor. Those 5 people would appoint a new official to be in charge of elections statewide rather than having the lieutenant governor have that responsibility.
Interesting. Now,
Yeah.
what would be the purpose in doing that? How would that make Utah's elections more secure?
Well, I don't know that it's about making elections more secure, Aaron. I think, and again, I'm speculating.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
think it's a
trying
political move?
I'm not representing legislators' intentions here or what they hope to accomplish because, frankly, I'm not entirely sure. I do know that the relationship, the political relationship between Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson and many Republican lawmakers is a bit strained. And also the optics of having an elected person, having a lieutenant governor who is elected, oversee the process by which they're elected. You know, the optics there are problematic maybe, but the reality is that every county clerk in the state of Utah is also elected in a partisan election, and they are the ones who really administer elections on the ground. So healthy debates, maybe some drama, very interesting topic. What did you react to? What impressed you, Aaron?
Yeah, you know, there were a few things that I noticed here. there was talk in, I think it was Casey Snyder, Representative Snyder, talking about transportation and wanting to make sure that we don't have gridlock here in Utah.
Yeah.
That was interesting to me, and I'm curious to know more about what they mean by that. Looking at water needs from agriculture to the Great Salt Lake, also very interesting.
And when Casey Snyder says something about water, we all should listen carefully.
That's right. So, some of those things, in addition to what you mentioned, I think were really interesting. Now, coming up on Inside Sources, we're going to continue this for as long as the press conference is going on, and we'll continue to give our thoughts in the process, so stay with us.
Good afternoon, 1:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shilaos. KSL's top story this hour. The U.S. Supreme Court will not hear Utah's public lands lawsuit. The state took issue with the feds controlling more than 18 million acres of land in the state without having a designated purpose for them. This does not include things like our national parks and tribal lands. Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance Legal Director Steve Block praised the court's decision, saying that they worried these lands could be sold off if acquired by the state.
These lands were never Utah's lands in the first place. They've always been federal lands. So there's no reason to believe that the state of Utah is going to end up with them.
State leaders said in a statement they are disappointed with the court's decision and will keep fighting to keep public lands in public hands. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden issuing a statement on the death toll in the California fires.
In a new statement, President Biden expressed his grief over the deaths from the California wildfires, saying, quote, "Our hearts ache for the 24 innocent souls we have lost. Jill and I pray for them and their loved ones." The president said he continues to be frequently briefed on intensive efforts to suppress the fires and has directed his team to respond promptly to any request for additional federal firefighting assistance. His message to the firefighters and first responders: you represent the best of America, and we are in your debt. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
The Los Angeles County Sheriff saying this morning that there are around 92,000 people currently under evacuation orders. Taking a look at your money at this moment, the Dow up by 300 points, 0.75%, sitting at 42,239. S&P 500 down by 5, and the NASDAQ gets down by 151 points. Cold temperatures are going to stick around. We'll check the forecast and update your drive coming up next. KSL News Time, 1:32.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Our military faces a crisis. Recruitment down. Morale weak. Our leaders more focused on going woke than killing terrorists and defending America. President Trump nominated Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense to change things. Hegseth isn't an insider or a swamp dweller. He's a decorated veteran of the United States Army who deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan. And he's exactly who we need leading the Department of Defense. Hegseth will ban woke nonsense from our armed forces, strengthen our military, and make our soldiers proud to serve. Call your United States Senator at 202-224-3121. Tell them stand with Trump. Confirm Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. Again, call your senator at 202-224-3121. Tell them to vote to confirm Pete Hegseth and make our military great again. Paid for by American Leadership PAC.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
If you're trying to decide which gutter protection to put on your home, don't just ask how they'll handle leaves. Ask how they'll handle ice. Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors, and that's right, ice. See, plenty of gutter guards are good at keeping out leaves, but most are made with flimsy materials that can bend, buckle, and break under the weight of too much ice. Kind of a big problem in an icy state like Utah, right? At RGS Exteriors, our exclusive gutter protection systems are built Utah tough. They're made with premium strength materials that hold up to 1,200 pounds of ice per square foot. Simply put, they're not going to budge. Our gutter guards are also certified to handle hurricane-level winds and rain. Mother Nature can't damage them. Guaranteed. Utah Tough Products. That's the RGS way. For a free estimate, call 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's rgsexteriors.com or 801-280-3110.
At the Utah Auto Expo, we have a vehicle for almost everything. Grocery getting, sports car cruising, luxuriating, and adventure seeking. Heck, we have a whole section for adventure seekers called Adventure Utah. The Auto Expo has a vast selection of vehicles from different manufacturers all in one place. It's a great place to comparative shop. We have a vehicle for almost everything, and we certainly have a vehicle for your thing. The Utah Auto Expo, Mountain America Expo Center, January 17th through the 20th. Plenty of free parking for your current car. Go to AutoExpoUtah.com for tickets.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by My Style Checking from Mountain America Credit Union. Here's Ricky Meese.
Good speeds, no problems on your Valley freeways, but we do have a crash being cleared downtown at 4th South and 3rd East right now. Main secondaries are looking good as well. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
A very slight chance of showers today, about a 10% chance. Then we have a few dry days before we have a chance of showers again by the weekend. Right now, 34 degrees at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Chaleos from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to KSL Inside Sources. We are now going to go back live to a press conference on Utah's Capitol Hill. Mike Schultz, Speaker of the House, is speaking right now, responding to questions about education and other priorities.
Some things that higher ed institutions are doing here in the state. Did you know that Weber State University is #1 in concurrent enrollment? Do you know who #2 is? UVU. Utah has the #1 and #2 spots in concurrent enrollment in the nation. We are educating our kids faster. We're moving them through the process at a lower cost already than almost any other state out there in the nation. But we can do better. We want to build upon that. I was at this Ogden Tech event today, where you have, think about this, high schools. You have a high school on Ogden Tech campus. You have a high school coordinating with CTE, with the technical school, who then coordinates with our higher ed institutions. And look at all the benefit that comes of that. Those kids are moving through the process quicker and faster. And all the options are on the table for them, whether they want to take the things that they learned in the tech schools or even in high schools, and they're able to take and apply that towards credit at Weber State University. We need to do more of that. We need other universities to be more open to these things and be working down these pathways. So there's a lot of things that I want to say that we're critical of, but then there's also a lot of ways that we're being more innovative in the nation, and those are the areas where we want to expand. That's what's good for our kids. That's what's good for our society overall, and that's where we're focused on making sure we put the Utah dollars. Additional questions?
Insights on taxes, tax cuts, any insights where, how much?
That we have, who knows on that? I think it's fair to say the only thing we agree on at this point in time is that there needs to be tax cuts. So that's the good news. As we look, again, we've been so.
We are listening live to House Speaker Mike Schultz at a press conference on Utah's Capitol Hill, responding to questions from press and public about the priorities for Republican House lawmakers going into this year's session. Let's go back to Speaker Schultz.
The process that we're going to go through to be able to determine what those tax cuts are.
Back to
allocation. You previously floated a 10% cut. Is that still a number you stand by?
Yeah, well, so it's not only a number that we stand by, it's also in the base budget, the executive appropriations approved already. It's still a number that could be fluid either way. So we'll see where that sticks and where that lands. But right now, that seems to be that number seems to have a lot of traction right now. Anything, Representative Lisenby, that you'd like to add on any of the topics? Anybody else?
Speaker, I'll ask another question if I can, unless you...
Yeah.
Back to elections, there's been a lot of talk of getting rid of SB 54, repealing that, likewise potentially lowering thresholds on signatures, so conversation around eliminating both routes or changing both routes. Have you guys settled on any of that?
It has not even been a topic of discussion yet. As we move through the session, I have no doubt in elections become part of the conversation. I have no doubt those will be things that brought up. We have not had major conversations around any of those topics.
Any insights on nuclear power?
We've had a lot of conversations around nuclear power. Yeah.
Are you like get a plant here or what?
We want more of it. There's a lot of, I wish Representative Moss was here. Who's somebody, Jack or Albrecht, or feel free if anybody's got additional information. But look, so this is something that we started a year and a half ago, conversations that we started a year and a half ago. We want all of the above. And it's not that we want all of the above. We have to have all of the above. If we don't have all of the above, then the citizens of the state are going to suffer, and it's going to drive up prices higher than they may already end up. Okay, so we want to continue to make sure Utah has the lowest energy costs in the nation. Okay, or be one of the lowest in the nation. That's where we have been for a long time. We're here. We're now. By getting ahead of this, we're going to be there. So yes, there are active conversations, and by the way, this is something that the governor is on board. You guys all know that, and is working hard leading out on this. Something the Senate is on board with and leading out on as well. So we are all having these conversations because we recognize the importance of it. So yes, there's a lot of conversations with Idaho National Lab. Last year we set and actually funded the San Rafael Research Center that will be looking at this. And the University of Utah has a nuclear reactor in one of their programs, in their engineering programs. Okay, there's a lot of great things happening. The president of Utah State University is a nuclear scientist, one of the best in the nation. Utah is poised to be able to move forward and lead the nation on some of these things. We look forward to doing it.
One other question. It's been made clear that a focus for this session is going to be...
We are coming from a press conference that is being held on Utah's Capitol Hill. We were just listening to House Speaker Mike Schultz respond to some questions there for members of the press and public. He was asked about elections, education, nuclear power, a number of things. Aaron, he seems to be pretty consistent, emphasizing the same priorities over and over. What stood out to you?
Yeah, I loved the line when he was talking about nuclear energy, and he said, well, we want more of it.
Yeah.
I think that was a great way to sum up kind of where at least I have seen the legislature going, looking at nuclear energy. He talked about the resources at the University of Utah that are available for that. So we've talked about this before. I think we're going to see a very big push, particularly now that there's the technology out there for some of these smaller nuclear reactors.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a very, very big push from the legislature on that this
year. He called it the all of the above approach, that nuclear power is part of that. Speaker Schultz said there have been a lot of conversations among lawmakers about nuclear power, so interested to see that develop in the session. Also, he emphasized concurrent enrollment for higher ed, pointing out that Utah has the number 1 and number 2 universities in terms of the most concurrent enrollment in the nation.
I know, that surprised me.
Yeah, that was impressive. Weber State number 1, UVU, Utah Valley University number 2. That is wonderful. That's great. That's an emphasis for them. They're very focused on making higher ed more efficient and less expensive for taxpayers. That plays into that very well. He also was asked about tax cuts, what the tax cut could be, how much it could be, and his response was, who knows? So a lot of negotiations happening around tax cuts. Details are not yet clear, but we should get more information on that as the session gets underway a week from tomorrow. Listeners, stay right here. Coming up after the break, we are going to pivot and talk about congressional priorities. Stay right here.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 13 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Nevada, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, or other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 90 days from a station contest or event are not eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com.
Healthcare with human kindness is here. It's at Common Spirit Health. Hospitals, clinics, and caregivers all connected to advance healthcare in Colorado, Kansas, and Utah. Together, we have a common purpose, partnering with you in health and healing using powerful medicine, powerful technology, and the greatest power of all, human kindness. You'll know it when you see it, because human kindness is in every care site and in every caregiver. Common Spirit Health. Hello, human kindness.
Welcome to Staples.
I am so pumped. My business is going to kill it this year.
Awesome. How can I help?
First, a new computer.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you save big on tech.
And new posters.
Save on custom printing, too.
And,
a new chair?
A chair? Who has time to sit?
Maybe all your new clients?
Now you're talking.
With Staples Home and Office Hot Deals, you'll find huge savings on custom prints, storage, chairs, and tech. And now save up to $175 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 2/1.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Boy, right after the holidays, everyone needs a little cash, right?
Oh, yes.
We have great news for you. Right now, UCCU, Utah Community Credit Union, will pay you for your auto loan and credit balances. So all you have to do is just transfer your auto loan or your credit card balance to UCCU. And on top of giving you a low interest rate, which will save you money, UCCU will give you 1% cash back up to $250 on every loan you transfer.
Amanda, as soon as I heard about this, I said, I'm in this exact situation. I actually had to have 2 loans to get my car a year ago.
Yeah.
Long story. Got it consolidated into one, and they paid me 1% back for each thing. I've got 1 payment now instead of 2. It's so much easier, and it took me basically an hour. I just went straight to the website. I applied. They said, you got to send me these documents. I did. And all of a sudden, within a couple of days, I had it all set.
This is how easy they are to work with, always looking for ways to help you and your family. You can find out more on the UCCU mobile banking app or just go to uccu.com/transfer. Utah Community Credit Union. You're going to love where you bank. When you need a new water heater, you need it right now.
Yep, can't wait on that.
When you need a new furnace or a new air conditioner come the summertime, you need it right now. So Superior Water and Air has a wonderful program where they can help you with financing. If you need it, get it today and pay it off when you get your tax refund or just over time.
And that's one of the great things is they have multiple financing options. It's not just one, okay, you've got to do it this way. It's, you can wait till just after your tax refund. Well, what if you need no payments until later in the year?
Yeah.
They can work with you like that because, look, they want to help you get you back on your feet with the thing that doesn't work that you got to use.
Yeah.
And they'll just work with your situation. What a great way to do it.
I loved introducing you to my friends at Superior because they're just great people. And when you invite somebody into your home, you want to feel good about them.
Yeah, and they're so customer-centric. That was what really impressed me was they wanted to work with me and my family, whatever needs we might have.
Right. They want your home to be safe and clean. Superior Water and Air. Here's the number, 801-872-8483, or go to superiorwaterandair.com.
Jeff Kaplan. I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news. I am gratified that so many people listen to me every afternoon on KSL, but what they don't know is that there are so many people behind the scenes making it happen, checking on the traffic, answering the phones, making the calls, talking to the newsmakers. They're out in the street, into the field to get the raw information, and then putting it all together so that I can sit in front of a microphone and be a source of information every afternoon. But there are so many people who make it happen. That's what you don't know.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, we've been talking about the state legislative Republican priorities, things like education, energy, and affordability. But how do those things compare to Republican priorities on the national level? I'm Erin Ryder here with Inside Sources and Taylor Morgan, my good friend here. Let's talk about what the House at the national level is focused on. Now, this last weekend, a bunch of Republican lawmakers went down to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President-elect Donald Trump.
I was not invited, Erin, and I think I might be the only Republican that wasn't.
Well,
did you get an invitation to Mar-a-Lago?
I did not, but you know what? You and me, and you know who else was included in that company? Speaker Mike Johnson was not there, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
So a whole bunch of Republicans without Speaker Mike Johnson.
Governor Spencer Cox was there?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is going to be really interesting because Mike Johnson is going to face a lot of challenges in this Congress. We've talked about this before on the show. Challenges with the House Freedom Caucus, et cetera. And now we're looking at some of these priorities coming up. What do you think is going to happen, Taylor? Kind of where do you get the sense that things are right now as these lawmakers come back from Mar-a-Lago and people are getting ready for Trump's inauguration?
Yeah, this will be Speaker Mike Johnson's moment. This will be his time, Erin, to really, it's going to be make or break for him, I think.
Yeah.
He won re-election of another term, serving as Speaker of the U.S. House. He has a very, very razor-thin majority in the House. To get anything done, to get anything passed, he has to have very broad support among House Republicans, but he also needs to have some support from House Democrats. He has to continue to broker deals, find compromises if he is going to get things done. Fortunately for Speaker Mike Johnson, the U.S. House did vote to pass a rule change. They narrowly passed a rule change in the U.S. House about a week and a half ago, Erin, that requires 9 votes now to vacate the speakership. Yeah, before, a member of the U.S. House could, well, you had to be in the majority, right? So you had to be a Republican, essentially, if there's a Republican speaker. If you're in the majority party, previously it only took 1 vote. Only 1 member of the majority party in the U.S. House could initiate a vote of no confidence for the speakership, vacate the speaker. We saw that happen, of course, with Kevin McCarthy. And so this has always been hanging over Speaker Mike Johnson's head. Now it takes 9 votes to call for a vote of no confidence in the speaker. I think that's a really good thing. I think it helps keep the focus on legislation and policy making rather than in turning party politics in the House. So, yeah, a real opportunity here, Erin, for Speaker Mike Johnson. This is not going to be easy. He is going to face opposition within his own party and from Democrats. We will really find out how good of a leader Speaker Mike Johnson is in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and one of the things that he's going to have to face here coming up, now that they've got this rules package passed, this was really important because the House couldn't do anything without these rules in place. That kind of governed how they operated. So now he's got to go ahead and start naming leadership for different committees in the House. We're going to see some interesting dynamics here as well. One of the big ones is going to be who he chooses for the Rules Committee. He's got a choice, really, between Representative Virginia Foxx from North Carolina and Representative Michelle Fischbach from Minnesota. Different people for this committee, right? How does this impact? How do these leadership picks impact the work that Johnson needs to do?
Yeah, they are so fundamental. And it may seem that this is all very internal, inside baseball. We're in the weeds of the process here. But, Erin, this is where politics gets the most intense, right? After the elections, right, once the voters have weighed in, and you're actually, with your own party members, trying to figure out who's in charge of these important committees and positions within your own party. in the majority there in the U.S. House. This is when it gets real messy and dramatic. Speaker Mike Johnson, honestly, Aaron, this is going to be probably the hardest thing he has to do right away, is make some key decisions here on Rules Committee, House Intelligence Committee. Mm-hmm. He has to find a way to reconcile with the House Freedom Caucus and keep them at bay, while also making sure that he is rewarding and empowering, those who have been consistent day one supporters.
Yeah. Another dynamic that's going to be really interesting in all of this is that, some of these Republicans who have been with President-elect Donald Trump have been talking about what to do for California and wildfire aid in California. And one of the things that has come up is the idea of tying wildfire aid to a debt ceiling increase. Now, I find this fascinating because this was the thing, the request to increase the debt ceiling was the thing that killed the continuing resolution right at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And now it has resurfaced again. And Mike Johnson was not at the dinner where this was discussed. Again, what challenges is he going to face if this is something that Donald Trump has just stuck in his craw, that he wants this debt ceiling raised?
Aaron, I think this really encapsulates the fight that Speaker Mike Johnson has on his hands, and essentially, I believe the National Republican Party has to deal with as well, and that is the battle between traditional conservatism, fiscal conservatism, versus new Donald Trump Republican populism, right? As you mentioned, adding to the debt ceiling was not supported by House Republicans at all last year. However, given what has happened in California, and given President-elect Donald Trump's comments, Republicans are now wanting to add to the debt ceiling to provide aid for the California wildfires. Populism, right? So much of this reacting in the moment to the politics, the shifting winds of public opinion. Very interesting, Aaron. Republicans have got to figure out how long this populism can last, because I'll tell you what, we can't afford it.
Yeah, and one of the reasons why this has come up is because the federal government's disaster relief funds currently have about $100 billion, or at least Congress cleared that to add to the coffers at the end of last year. So they've got a lot of cash on hand now, but they did that before the wildfires hit. Mm-hmm. And so now there is some concern, do we have enough cash, and what if something else comes up in the meantime? I wonder if Trump is in some ways trying to take advantage of this to get his debt ceiling through. But like you said, a lot of these representatives have campaigned on the platform of fiscal responsibility. It's one of the big complaints about Congress is the budget, the spending, continuous spending over and over and over again. And yet here Donald Trump is once again going back to this.
It is going to be so interesting, Aaron, to watch how all of this plays out. Of course, I'm not going to argue that government should not step in and provide disaster relief. It's probably one of the main things, right, that we should look to government to do, right? California is on fire. The destruction is unprecedented. Mm-hmm. Thousands and thousands of structures. I believe 25 individuals lost their lives so far as the count. What is really concerning, Aaron, is how many of those structures are going to be left without fire insurance.
Yep.
And how expensive of an area and how valuable those properties were in the Pacific Palisades area of California, Malibu, the personal property in those homes. This is going to be an insurance crisis, I believe. Mm-hmm. Congress, I believe, probably should and will need to help and do something on this. But I don't know that increasing the debt ceiling specifically for it I don't know that that's tenable for Mike Johnson. I think that causes him a lot of problems within his party and the majority there.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think it also doesn't help that Donald Trump and California Governor Gavin Newsom have been at odds over this and are in many ways not on the same page about a lot of this. And it will be very interesting to see how the recovery and the rebuild process goes when you've got Trump at the head of the federal government, Gavin Newsom at the head of the state government, and they have to work hand in hand to kind of help this area rebuild. Yeah,
Donald Trump's new nickname for California Governor Gavin Newsom is Governor Newscum, I believe.
That's not new. I think that's old.
Oh, is that old? Okay, I had not seen that before. I am only recently now paying attention again to President-elect Donald Trump, Aaron, having taken a little bit of a break for a couple years. Listeners, coming up after this break, we're going to talk about Utah's public lands lawsuit and the latest developments with the court on that. Stay right here.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Good afternoon. It's 2 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Maria Shilaos. KSL's top local story this hour. Intermountain Health successfully transplanted a record number of organs in 2024.
In 6 years, the transplant program at Intermountain grew from 190 transplants a year to 489 last year. Dr. Richard Gilroy, who specializes in liver transplants, says that includes a significant increase in the number of living donation transplants. He emphasized the importance of family conversations so everyone understands the wishes of someone who donates organs. He says the most meaningful part of the transplant program is saving more lives. Tammy Kikuchi, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. President Biden to the State Department today discussing his administration's foreign policy legacy. Here's Biden on the reported progress to getting a deal between Israel and Hamas.
The deal we have structured would free the hostages, halt the fighting, provide security to Israel, and allow us to significantly surge humanitarian assistance to the Palestinians who've suffered terribly in this war.
The president also said the U.S. is in a better position in the long-term competition with China than when he took office. Taking a look at your money at this moment, it's a mixed day for the markets. The Dow ending up 359 points, ending at 42,297. S&P 500 switching to the positive territory in the last half hour, up by 9 points at the close, and the NASDAQ down by 74 points. This tiny chance of rain disappearing after today. We'll check the forecast coming up next. KSL News Time, 2:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
There she is, founder and CEO. High five.
Dave can't stop celebrating with every business owner in town.
All right, Baker Man, high five.
He's sharing the excitement of big savings with the Comcast Business 5-year price lock guarantee.
Ooh, up top, bike shop.
Yeah. It's 5 years of gig speed internet.
Quick, high five.
5 years of advanced security.
5 years.
And 5 years of a great rate that won't change.
Yeah, law partners. Chamberlain, Messethorpe, Dubois.
All from the company with 99.9% network reliability. Switch today and get the 5-year price lock guarantee.
5 years.
It's back, but only for a limited time.
Woo!
Powering 5 years of savings, powering possibilities. Comcast Business.
Can't forget you, voiceover guy.
Ah, thanks, Dave.
High five.
Ends 3/9/25. Guaranteed rate applies to monthly service charge for new customers on qualifying internet bundle, excluding taxes and fees. Other restrictions apply.
My daughter, she's 2. My wife, Meriden, we did it together because we want to be around a long time for her.
Every single day, people are losing weight and keeping it off with Soda Weight Loss, improving their health, their quality of life.
I would recommend this program to anybody. Anybody can do it.
For the month of January, Soda Weight Loss is offering a new client partner program. Join with a partner, a friend, someone you love for the cost of one.
Tried everything from fasting to every diet. Kept hearing about Soda Weight Loss. So what they did was give me a plan to lose the weight. It came with a nutritionist, came without drugs or pills or shots or side effects.
What are you waiting for? Get started with Soda Weight Loss right now with a partner and only pay for one.
Do you know how good it feels to let go of 51 pounds of belly fat? Because Soda Weight Loss works.
Visit sodaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
At Intermountain Children's Health, we've created a bold plan called Primary Promise to build the nation's model health system for children. Help us achieve this once-in-a-generation vision so together we can bring the world-class care of Primary Children's Hospital closer to home for every child in our communities. For more than a century, Primary Children's has kept the child first and always. Join us for the next 100 years. To learn more, visit primarypromise.org.
Traffic and weather together. It's brought to you by My Style Checking from Mountain America Credit Union. And here's Ricky Meese.
A small accident northbound I-15 in Draper, not far from 123rd South. So far, all vehicles are out of traffic on the right shoulder, so no delay. Advanced Window Products, factory direct affordable windows. Call today, they're on their way. Financing available. Save now, pay later. AdvancedWindows.com. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And our very slight chance of showers today diminishing over the next couple of days. Expect dry conditions, but still very cold temperatures. Today's high 34, right now 32 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Maria Shaleo. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We are Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio. I am Taylor Morgan, partner at Morgan May Public Affairs, hosting today with Aaron Ryder, local attorney and recent Republican nominee for Salt Lake County Mayor. Aaron, today the United States Supreme Court officially denied Utah's lawsuit against the federal government over management of unappropriated federal lands within the state of Utah. Let's start off with some legal analysis on this case. I am surrounded by two attorneys, of course, Aaron Ryder, and I believe we have KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas on the line with us live. Greg, what was your reaction to learning this news that the Supreme Court denied Utah's lawsuit over management of its public lands?
It wasn't really a surprise, Taylor, and I'll tell you why. It was a very novel lawsuit. Utah's claiming that the BLM manages 18.5 million acres of land that they're calling unappropriated. In other words, it's not part of a national park or a monument or a national site. It's just BLM land that they're using to graze and to do whatever. And what they're saying is that the Constitution allows the federal government to designate lands as parks and monuments and things like that. But if it's not being used for that, then it ought to go back to the state. There's no history for that. There's nothing that would support that. But that's what the state is ostensibly saying, and the Supreme Court is just saying, you know what, we're not even going to hear the case. It was a little bit unusual in another respect, and then Aaron probably knows more about this than I ever will, but it was filed directly with the Supreme Court. It didn't go through a trial court or the Court of Appeals or anything like that. They just filed it with the Supreme Court and said Utah ought to be able to grab this land, and the Supreme Court saying we're not even going to hear it.
Yeah, I think that was a really interesting component of this to me, right? Like, they're going straight to the Supreme Court, asking for original jurisdiction right at the Supreme Court level, and the Supreme Court just says, nope, not interested. We're not going to hear the case.
I was really surprised by that. Perhaps I'm the only one, but I was actually surprised, given the political makeup of the U.S. Supreme Court today. I was surprised that they didn't even entertain this lawsuit from the state of Utah. I had thought they might, given the dynamics with the court, the history of federal lands in Utah. And not that I support either side in this case, but it could have been super entertaining. It might have been a lot of fun had they heard arguments on this case. Greg, am I way off base here?
No, not at all. I mean, that's an interesting take, and I appreciate it, Taylor. It's just that you've got to start with, in my opinion, a trial court. You can't just start your case with the United States Supreme Court. I mean,
unless you're President-elect Donald Trump, of course. Sorry, continue, Greg.
And you want to get out of your New York hush money trial problems. Right. I mean, there are certain instances where you can. This probably isn't one of them. I think that they should have brought the case in the federal district court for the District of Utah, tried it there, litigated the issues, had a full-blown hearing instead of just petitioning to the United States Supreme Court. So I don't know that this is the nail in the coffin for the state. The state's apparently budgeted some $500,000 for litigation, and $2.5 million for public relations campaign because they're taking this quite seriously. But they just did it wrong. And whether that means they're going to refile it in the district court remains to be seen. But the Supreme Court made actually quite quick work of it and said, we're not even going to take this up.
Yeah. So tell us about that, Greg. What are the next steps for the state? If you're, I know you are not representing the state, but if you were, what do they do next? What's the plan?
Well, I mean, I think what they need to do is file file a lawsuit in the district court, in the trial court, where we usually start cases like this, and work it up the flagpole, work it through the system the way that the federal court system is designed to be heard. It may ultimately end up at the United States Supreme Court. They may, depending on what happens at the court below, at the district court and the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals, which is our appellate court for Utah. Yeah, let's do it the right way. But just starting a petition with the United States Supreme Court because it deals with federal lands was probably inappropriate. And I can see the Supreme Court saying, wait a minute, we don't even know exactly what's being litigated here. Let's sort through the issues. Let's have argument. Let's do it at the trial court level. And so while the Supreme Court didn't take the case, they certainly didn't dismiss it and say there is no case.
Yeah. We know that 70% of Utah's land is controlled by the federal government. This lawsuit, of course, Greg, as you mentioned, was only dealing with the unappropriated federal lands. Now, so that does not include any of the national parks or national monuments. All of that land was not a part of this. That is in federal hands, and it would stay in federal hands. But it's the 34% of the rest, these unappropriated lands and parcels that are under control of the BLM. There's nothing Utah can do to challenge decisions or rulings by the BLM on those lands. A lot of those lands are not being utilized. It's my humble opinion that the state of Utah, with its state park system, I think, does a much better job of managing public lands, especially for outdoor recreation. So I'm torn on this. I can understand both sides. I really do see both sides. We're talking about land within the state of Utah that is equivalent to, the state of South Carolina. This is a lot of land here that the federal government controls that they're really not doing much with, and Utah has no say whatsoever.
No, you're exactly right, Taylor. And in fact, the federal government, if they use the land for grazing or mining or other development, are actually making money off the land. And I think the state of Utah is saying, well, hell, we've got to do most of the work on this. Why can't we get the money from it? So, yeah. I really think the state is saying it's just this, it's a big swath of land. It's 18.5 million acres. But the federal government can set up monuments, can set up national parks, can set up, national places where people can go that are protected by the federal government and are designated as a national monument or something like that. But where the federal government, after Utah's been a state for, 200 years, still doesn't take any action on the land, I can understand what you're saying, Taylor. Maybe let Utah develop it into a state park or do something that benefits the people of the state of Utah. The Supreme Court just wasn't having any of that yet.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, I was surprised by that. I thought this court might take this up and go with this expedited approach that Utah was hoping for. Definitely would have maybe saved us, all of us taxpayers here in Utah, some of the legal fees perhaps. But
Yeah, that would have been really helpful, really nice. Well, I'm thinking to your point too that, both of you, there are parts of the state like places like Duchesne County, right, where they're really, really limited in what they can do because so much of those areas are federal land. And, the federal government is supposed to at least provide some compensation for this. There's a concept called payment in lieu of taxes, where the money that the state could tax on, they no longer can because it's federally owned, and now the federal government pays a portion to the state to compensate. It's a fraction of the cost, but it's still supposed to provide some level of compensation. But it's just not enough, right?
Yeah.
And you get into some of these other areas, and they struggle economically. They struggle in a lot of ways because they need the support, and they can't use the resources that are available to them.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be really interesting. Do we have any indication, Greg, as far as you're aware, from our newly elected Attorney General Derek Brown, the governor, as to kind of what, I know where you would advise them to go. Do we have any idea of where they think they're going to go with this?
Oh, I think, Aaron, that they're going to go to Plan B and file it correctly, file it in the district court and pursue it. I mean, the legislature set aside the money for it. They've got money set aside not only for the PR campaign, but for the litigation costs. So, yeah, the money's been set aside. My guess is that the state still has an appetite to go through with this, even if it is our newly elected attorney general and the governor who's been around already as a part of this. So I think that we're not through with this question at all.
Greg, last question. We only have about 30 seconds, but I have to ask, does the ruling give an indication whether the U.S. Supreme Court declined to take this case up because of process issues with expediting, right, with Utah going directly to the Supreme Court? Was that the problem? Or is it because ideologically, politically, they may not support what Utah wants here?
Yeah, I think it's the former. I think they're just saying, we're not going to hear this. What they did, Taylor, they just didn't take the case. They didn't rule against it. They just said, we're not taking it.
They declined to hear
court.
it. Okay.
Exactly.
KSL legal analyst Greg Skordas, thanks so much for joining us. Always appreciate your insight and expertise. Coming up after the break, we will continue the conversation about Utah's public lands lawsuits and some related issues, such as the marketing campaign to promote this effort to take back Utah's public lands. Stay right here for that.
The best parts of KSL News Radio are so easy to use in the car. Catch the biggest stories affecting Utah's communities throughout the morning. If you miss a newscast, the next one is just a few minutes away. Plus, we have traffic updates every 10 minutes on the 9s like clockwork. We try to make it easy for your commute, mornings and afternoons. Rely on KSL News Radio.
Hi, I'm Miley O'Keefe. In competitive gymnastics, flexibility and precision are crucial, and Les Olson IT knows how important flexibility and precision are to your business. It's why they deliver the very best IT security, office equipment, collaborative technology, and so much more. Let Les Olson IT's Perfect 10 service empower your business at lesolsonit.com.
Les Olson IT. Bear Lake provides an experience that every family member can enjoy, whether it's snowmobiling, snowshoeing, ice fishing, or just cozying up by the fire. Bear Lake in the winter is a great escape with your family. Dive into 3 of the most beautiful cross-country and snowshoeing trails in Utah. Play on 350 miles of backcountry snowmobile trails, or try your hand at ice fishing. Bear Lake is where memories are made and joy is shared. Visit bearlake.org and make your vacation plans today. And don't forget, the monster is coming, and it wants you and your family. And that's great news, really, because it's time for the Bear Lake Monster Winterfest, January 24th and 25th. Winterfest is all about an incredible celebration of winter and all the fun it brings. Cisco Disco, Monster Plunge, Monster 5K, the Chili Cook-Off, Trails Day, and a cardboard boat regatta. Bear Lake awaits. Visit BearLakeMonsterWinterfest.com for pre-registration times and locations.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
Dominion Energy customers in Utah, Wyoming, and Idaho are now proudly served by Enbridge Gas. Enbridge looks forward to a bright future together. To learn more, visit enbridgegas.com.
Hi, this is Doug Wright, and over the years, you've heard me praise the Connecticut soft water systems. You've heard that so often, you might be tempted to chuck a shoe at your radio. Well, hang on, because I've got some great news. Get this, Connecticut will pay you $50. I'm not kidding on this. They'll pay you $50 to buy a competing water softener from another dealer. Ready for the rules, though? Well, they're pretty simple. Invite Connecticut of Utah to your home for a free estimate on a Connecticut water softener. If within 60 days of hearing them out, you buy any other system from any other water softener dealer, Kinetico of Utah will fork over $50. That's how sure they are that after hearing them out, you won't settle for anything less than a Kinetico water softener. Now, this offer does expire in 30 days, so don't delay. Call Northern Utah's authorized Kinetico dealer, Kinetico Quality Water Systems of Salt Lake, 801-576-8600, or log on to softwaterutah.com. That's softwaterutah.com. Tell them Doug sent you.
Dave and Dujanovic.
If you're driving to work or you're driving the kids to a soccer game, we're your in-car companions.
People will come up to me and say, "Oh, I talk to you every day. You don't realize it because I'm talking at the radio, but I talk to you every day."
Listen for Dave and Dujanovic 9 to noon on KSL News Radio. Inside Sources. Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, alongside Utah's public lands lawsuit, the state also spent more than $1 million, budgeted $2.6 million on a PR campaign trying to drum up support and publicity. Welcome back to Inside Sources. I'm Erin Ryder here with Taylor Morgan. Before we jump into the discussion on the political aspect of this public lands lawsuit, let's take a second here and listen to one of the ads that the state has put out for this lawsuit.
Because of my disability, I need to reach campsites in a motorized vehicle. If I lose road access, I lose the ability to do something I love with my family. That's why I think Utah should be managing Utah land.
I like it. Erin, I love it. Good ad, good, clean, simple. Here's another example of how we can stand for Utah's businesses by taking back our public lands.
Our ATV rental business stays afloat thanks to outdoor enthusiasts visiting Utah's remote areas. If they lose access to the land, we lose access to our livelihood. That's why we think Utah should be managing Utah land.
All right, and then there's one more clip we want to play. Now, keep in mind, these are clips from the public relations campaign in favor of this lawsuit.
The Stand for Our Lands
campaign. Yes, the Stand for Our Lands. So this last one is going to be about standing for our recreation.
Climbing is my passion, and Utah is the perfect place to pursue it. But if access to our routes is cut off, then the climbing community could be left dangling. That's why I think Utah should be managing Utah land.
Okay, Erin, takeaways, what do you think?
Well, here's the thing. And
hold on, before you get going here, because I might not be able to interrupt you again for a while. I just want to make sure our listeners know that these are clips we've been playing from the Stand for Our Lands ad campaign. This was funded by the Utah legislature. We have spent just over $1 million already on this campaign. I think, Erin, you said the legislature budgeted initially $2.6 million. Listeners, you've probably seen billboards up along I-15 with a Stand for Our Lands tagline. You've probably seen digital ads. So this has been out there, Erin, for over a year. And we, I think, disagree, Erin Ryder. And let's let you have first crack at this opening statement. Go for it.
Opening statement. So the whole thing here is that the state, it's a multi-pronged approach, right? The state has filed this lawsuit with the Supreme Court that we just discussed, got rejected this morning, and they've got this multi-million-dollar PR campaign. I don't know what the point of the PR campaign is here, and this is where I'm coming in at this, because I don't think the PR campaign has done anything. And I think it is unclear, even in, there's an article from the Deseret News about this PR campaign that Brigham Tom co-wrote, talking about how they are doing this in the hopes that it will increase the likelihood that the court takes up the case, the Supreme Court takes up the case. And further down the article, Brigham says, the goal of raising awareness of Utah's case among those who might have influence over whether it moves forward. So in my mind, at least as the way this is being reported, they're trying to sway. Whose opinion are they trying to sway? This is what I don't understand, right? Because in Utah, a lot of people in Utah already know that the legislature doesn't like the fact that the federal government controls so much of our land here. 2/3 of our land is federally controlled. We already know that. And so, are they trying to get credit for this? Because I look at this and I think now they just look like they have egg on their face. They took this lawsuit in front of the Supreme Court. It didn't work. They've already spent $1 million on this campaign, and nobody's mind has changed.
Okay. Well, let me start here. I want to clarify that the strategy with the lawsuit, expediting, right, and going directly to the U.S. Supreme Court is certainly not the end. Right, the court, as Greg Skordas mentioned, the court did not rule against Utah in this lawsuit. The Supreme Court simply declined to hear it.
Right.
I think that's a process thing, and this lawsuit now is actually just getting started. I think lawmakers were hoping to expedite that process and save all the time and cost of doing the lawsuit through the normal traditional process, working its way up through the courts, the districts, and through appeals and all that, hoping to get a faster, more immediate decision from what could have been perceived to be a far more favorable Supreme Court, right? You mentioned, we both know this issue is not new. The fight over public lands in Utah, federal control versus local input and state management, this is a fight that has been raging here in Utah for decades, and it has evolved, I think, somewhat. This Stand for Our Land campaign, it's an official state of Utah campaign. The website is standforourland.utah.gov. This is being done by the government of the state of Utah. Aaron, I don't think the goal, this is my opinion, I don't think the goal of the Stand for Our Land campaign was really connected directly to the lawsuit at all. I think that the lawsuit is an entirely separate tactic that was happening concurrently. But the goal wasn't, to target Supreme Court justices to win them over with the website and with the marketing campaigns. The marketing campaign is happening here in the state of Utah. I believe lawmakers are trying to engage Utahns in this process. They're trying to educate Utahns about the facts surrounding our public lands. If you visit the website here, it has a lot of very engaging graphics, a lot of good information, a lot of facts, I think, that most Utahns don't know about our public lands. I think we're all generally aware that there's this fight over, federal lands in Utah, and it really seems to come up when there's a Democrat in the White House and they designate a new national monument or whatnot. That's when it really gets heated. But a lot of Utahns don't know the details about our public lands. Certainly I didn't know all these details. So I think the goal is to educate Utahns, engage voters in what the state is hoping to do, build support for that, and then also lawmakers get some credit with voters for what they're trying to do with public lands in the federal government. So I think...
But here's the thing, Taylor.
Yeah.
What's the point of that? Because it's not voters. This is not an issue that voters are ultimately deciding on. Maybe down the road, if the lawsuits are successful, then yes, there are going to be some state regulations and state decisions that have to be made. But in the meantime, it would seem much more worthwhile to have a PR campaign that's targeting Congress, members of Congress who might be able to do something about this, or, working with Trump's team and going through that route. But if the goal is to drive a lawsuit that changes the way the federal government handles their ownership and control over land in Utah, why are we spending $2.5 million in taxpayer dollars to get voters bought in? I mean, yes, I agree with you that there are a lot of people in the state who don't understand public lands issues.
Well, the goal was never to impact the outcome of the lawsuit. You can't impact
but then again,
the outcome
what's
of a
the
lawsuit
point of the PR
by...
campaign?
Well, you don't run a PR political campaign to impact the outcome
you're right.
of a lawsuit in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was ever the intention. The goal was never to impact the litigation, the lawsuit with the federal government. The goal was to educate Utahns, build support for this cause, and make sure that lawmakers behind it get credit in voters' eyes for doing it. Because voters, especially in rural Utah, right?
Sure.
Rural voters consistently rate
it's a huge
this
issue.
is their top as a top priority,
Yeah.
right? And it's important for Utah, the governor, for lawmakers. It is very important for them to demonstrate that they are taking action.
And I totally agree with that. But again, you're talking about a $2.5 million PR campaign taxpayer dollars.
Budgeted, not spent yet.
It's true. Budgeted, not spent, but it's still budgeted. Taxpayer dollars that are targeting people who already support the state government doing this.
But they may not. They may not support it yet.
I think a lot of people in Utah, though, are on the same page. Now, not everybody, but a lot of people are. And it's one of those things where I look at it and I think, I'm just not sure that I'm bought into this. So, anyway, we've got...
Disagree.
Taylor and I very much disagree on this. However, coming up on Inside Sources next, we're going to be back on the federal stage. It's Senate confirmation week for Trump's cabinet nominees. More on that coming up next.
Good afternoon, 2:30 at KSL. I'm Jeff Kaplan, KSL's top local story this hour. Governor Spencer Cox has sworn in the first officers of the new Department of Natural Resources Division of Law Enforcement.
Protecting these resources is paramount. It is one of the duties of government is to protect our natural resources and make sure that they survive for generations to come.
Governor Cox says this new division was recommended in 4 previous audits as a way of making law enforcement in the backcountry and on the waterways more efficient. Our top national story from ABC News. 24 are confirmed dead from the wildfires in Los Angeles, and there are new concerns as the Santa Ana winds return.
Already, those Santa Ana winds are blowing again. Now another PDS red flag warning has been issued. PDS standing for particularly dangerous situation. Up to 70-mile-per-hour winds are possible through Wednesday. The fires already burning could rage back to life, or new ones could start. LA City Fire Chief Kristen Crowley.
We are not in the clear as of yet, and we must not let our guard down.
Vehicle parking rules are being enforced to keep roads clear for fire engines to access narrow roads. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Your money at this moment, a mixed market today, but the Dow gained 358 points. Coming up, if you're looking for snow this week, you better go somewhere else. KSL weather is on the way next. KSL News Time, 2:31.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Okay, I have to tell you, I was just looking on eBay where I go for all kinds of things I love, and there it was.
That hologram trading card. One of the rarest, the last one I needed for my set. Shiny like the
designer handbag of my dreams. One of a kind. eBay had it, and now everyone's asking, ooh, where'd you get your
windshield wipers? eBay has all the parts that fit my car. No more annoying, just beautiful.
Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay. Things people love.
Ooh, ma. What was that? That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud phone system. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very
calm. I am. Ooma has everything I need to run my business more efficiently, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Attention home buyers, want to save hundreds on your mortgage payment or buy a bigger, nicer home? Visit SaveRight.com. This is Rod with the SaveRight team at Realty Path. SaveRight, our name says it all. SaveRight real estate clients often save $300 to $600 a month on their mortgage. Life of loan savings can be over $300,000. SaveRight clients qualify for and buy bigger, nicer homes. Interest rates are around 7%. SaveRight clients can get fixed rates in the 5s. Our affiliate lender makes it all possible. You can even start with a rate in the 2s. If you're buying or selling a home in Utah, save a ton of money. Hire the SaveRight team of realtors. Visit SaveRight.com for more information.
Order for Jennifer C.
Is this my double shot, double cream, double froth, double pump, double whip, double sleeve?
Yeah. Can you handle that much caffeine?
Did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Oh, really? That's great.
Seriously, did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, you just said that.
Did you say I just said that?
Yeah, I'm cutting you off.
I can't have any more? Why not?
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by My Style Checking from Mountain America Credit Union. Here's Ricky Meese.
Kind of gloomy out there, but roadways are mostly dry. We do have a small accident eastbound I-215 southbound in Murray. It's at the junction to southbound I-15 out of traffic on the shoulder. Whipple Service Champions, your cooling, heating, plumbing, drains, and electrical specialist. Whipple that away. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
The KSL weather forecast, expect highs in the mid-30s through midweek. Overnight lows around 20. There is no serious threat of snow this week. Right now we're at the freezing mark in Salt Lake City, 32 degrees. I'm Jeff Kaplan from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Inside Sources. Inside Sources. A new presidency, new state leaders, and a new legislative session. Utah's top political experts discuss the day's biggest stories. Only on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources on KSL News Radio. I am Taylor Morgan here with Aaron Ryder. Aaron, President-elect Donald Trump will be inaugurated 1 week from today. The inaugural platform for the event on the west side of the United States Capitol building is being finished as we speak. Security fences are going up around the perimeter. Marching bands are practicing on Pennsylvania Avenue. It is that time. It is exciting. Aaron, a lot of cabinet picks still outstanding.
Yep.
That confirmation process is going to happen this week in the United States Senate.
That's right. And we have some really interesting discussions coming up. Just to give you a little bit of an overview on what's happening this week, tomorrow, Tuesday, we're going to have the hearings for Doug Collins, who's up for the Department of the Veterans Affairs, Pete Hegseth, who's up for Department of Defense, and Doug Burgum, who's up for Interior Department. And then Wednesday, we'll have a bunch more, including Kristi Noem for Homeland Security, Pam Bondi for Justice, and Marco Rubio for the State Department. Now, Taylor, let me ask you. I think Matt Gaetz was pretty clearly Trump's most controversial pick at the time. Matt Gaetz is no longer in the running for Attorney General.
Have you heard my hot take speculation about Matt Gaetz' appointment?
Tell us.
I think that was a very, very, very clever political move by Chief of Staff Susie Wiles to get Matt Gaetz out of the House and out of the way as punishment for Matt Gaetz derailing the repeal of Obamacare by President Trump back in 2017.
Interesting.
I would guess, this is just Taylor Morgan speculating here, okay? Matt Gaetz, if you would like to come on and correct me, that'd be great. You're always invited. But I think, Aaron, that was a political tactic with Matt Gaetz. I don't know that Donald Trump ever really wanted Matt Gaetz to be Attorney General.
Well, I think that's very interesting because that actually leads into my question. Now that he's not there, Matt Gaetz was not the only controversial pick amongst Trump's cabinet members. I'm curious to know, do you have concerns about any of the individuals going up this week, concerns about any of them actually making it through their confirmation? For example, I think Pete Hegseth is a pretty controversial one right now. RFK, there's been some chatter. Tulsi Gabbard, who actually doesn't have a set hearing time yet. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Tulsi Gabbard, of course, nominated for Director of National Intelligence, I think she has a tough path to confirmation. I think that is apparent. I think Pete Hegseth also is probably the other one who I think has the most challenging path to confirmation. He has been working very diligently with senators to try to persuade them to try to win votes for confirmation. We know that it hasn't always gone well for Pete Hegseth. But he is spending all of his time, Aaron, up on the Hill at the U.S. Capitol building in the Senate, trying to cross the line, trying the finish line on confirmation. I don't know that he's there yet, Aaron. We will see.
Is there anyone that you have your own reservations about?
Well, Elon Musk, I guess that's a done deal, right? No confirmation needed there.
I think that one.
Or did that sell through?
Yeah, that's a great question. We haven't heard anything about that. So
I think he's a lot of fun, so I don't have a problem with it. Look, I struggle with this. This is a really good question. I wanted to ask you the same question, Aaron, and we can have a conversation about it here. Of course, we are talking about Donald Trump's cabinet picks for his new administration. 13 of his nominees are yet to be confirmed. Most of them have scheduled confirmation hearings this week, starting tomorrow. You mentioned a few of those at the top, Aaron. Here's the crux of my conflict personally on this. I can't decide between giving President-elect Donald Trump his choices for his administration. This is his administration. And he won a resounding historical election with the popular vote and with the Electoral College by historical margins. There is a clear mandate here by American voters for Donald Trump. So we should let Donald Trump do what voters have tasked him with doing with his people. So that is one side of this. I go back and forth, right?
Yeah. But does that mean that he gets carte blanche authority to put in anyone that he wants?
Obviously, he can't, right? And clearly, the Constitution gives the U.S. Senate the confirmation power, of course, right, to act as a check and a balance, right? And that is important. It is a serious duty, and I think these U.S. senators are taking it very seriously, which I can appreciate. I guess it depends, Aaron. I think we need to get people in office and get things moving, and I say let them sink or swim, right?
I was going to say, you sound like a lawyer right now, Taylor.
Do I?
And I say
because I'm trying to hedge.
You're hedging.
I play both sides. Okay, you are a lawyer, Aaron. How do you see this?
I think there are some of these nominations that are great. Doug Burgum for Interior Department. I think that's a really interesting one. I like that. Even Marco Rubio for the State Department. Really interesting pick, and excited to see what he does there. And I don't think there's really any concern about someone like Marco Rubio making it through his confirmation process. Pete Hegseth does give me some concern.
Yeah.
Does he have, the thing is, the Department of Defense, the person in charge of the Department of Defense has their authority over the U.S. military is second only to that of the president's. And at a time when there's so much international conflict and when the military is so important to our national security, I don't think it's inappropriate to want to make sure that whoever ends up in that spot really actually has the responsibility and the background to do it right. So, yeah, I'm happy to allow Trump the opportunity to choose his cabinet to a point. But when you've got someone when there are a lot of questions about their fitness for the role, like Pete Hegseth, I'm grateful that the Senate is taking a lot of time to really look into that.
And I think that process is healthy. I think it's a good thing that we are learning about these individuals, right? What they have done previously, career, professionally, their experience in the military, their behavior in the workplace. It's not a bad thing that this is vetted, right? That some of the laundry, so to speak, that comes out. I don't want to cancel people because of mistakes in the past, because we all make mistakes. And I think we have perhaps as a country gone too far in the direction of defining people by one bad action or statement, right? Some are justifiable. There's obviously shades, of course, here. But, like Pete Hegseth, for example, problematic backstory, some personal issues in the workplace, certainly very valid concerns. So I think it's a good thing, right, that he has to account for those with senators and have those conversations.
It's interesting that you bring up the stuff in the past, right? Because I find myself going both ways on this, in the sense that, yes, we don't want one bad mistake to prevent someone from doing a good job. However, these are the top positions in the country. You are in charge of some of the most important agencies in the country.
Yeah.
And I think it's totally appropriate to have an extra layer of scrutiny and an extra level of expectation about how you conduct yourself there.
I agree with that. I would also add to it that I don't mind mixing it up. You know, I'm okay with maybe rethinking how we appoint these kind of experts, these kind of leaders. And, you know, if we're not happy with the results we've gotten thus far all the time, then maybe we shake up the establishment and the process a little bit, and we'd be open to different kinds of people with different approaches doing these jobs, because we need a refresh. We need some new blood in political leadership in Washington. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then I think that's where what you're gonna see with RFK Jr., right? A lot of people are really interested in what he has to bring to the to HHS. It's gonna be really interesting to see, you know, what are the concerns there with him, and what could he bring that could potentially do a lot of good.
Yeah, definitely watching that very closely. Coming up after the break, Aaron, we are going to have a fascinating conversation about social media and artificial intelligence. Stay right here for that.
Our military faces a crisis. Recruitment down, morale weak. Our leaders more focused on going woke than killing terrorists and defending America. President Trump nominated Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense to change things. Hegseth isn't an insider or a swamp dweller. He's a decorated veteran of the United States Army who deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, and he's exactly who we need leading the Department of Defense. Hegseth will ban woke nonsense from our armed forces, strengthen our military, and make our soldiers proud to serve. Call your United States Senator at 202-224-3121. Tell them stand with Trump. Confirm Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. Again, call your senator at 202-224-3121. Tell them to vote to confirm Pete Hegseth and make our military great again. Paid for by American Leadership PAC.
Join KSL News Radio's Amanda Dixon this Friday from 3 to 5 p.m. at the Salt Lake NPS store at 1600 Empire Road. More at npsstore.com.
Someone had a birthday.
Yep, 50. Can't believe it.
50 years of wisdom.
Great segue. We have health news, a CDC update.
Pneumococcal vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
This is Derek Overstreet of the New Millennium Group and host of Stop Working and Start Living Radio. If you're close to or in retirement and you don't have a tax plan, call us right now, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. Listen, our country's been spending like never before, and the tax bill is coming soon. If you need an income tax strategy and a financial plan that will get you through the rest of your life, give my team a call, 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. If you want an investment plan that allows you to keep more of your gains and pay less taxes, give us a call, 888-999-6370. My team specializes in the type of plan that will get you retired 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible. So, get a no-cost tax analysis by calling 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370. My team is standing by now.
Purchase a new heating and cooling system from Yes Air Conditioning, Heating, Plumbing, and Electric, and we'll buy back your old inefficient HVAC system. Save up to $4,500 through tax credits and other discounts when you upgrade to a new energy-efficient HVAC system. Yes offers expert technicians, flexible payment options, and our exceptional service guarantee, ensuring your peace of mind. Request your complimentary consultation from Yes today. Call now or visit theyesmancan.com for details, terms, and conditions.
An airliner takes off from the Pacific Northwest, carrying 101 passengers and crew. Most aboard Flight 293 are active-duty military and their families, headed to Cold War assignments in Alaska.
Surveillance of the Soviet military buildup.
But somewhere over the ocean, with no distress call, the airliner plunges into the icy water below.
Even if all 4 engines quit, that aircraft would fly.
There were no survivors and no bodies were ever recovered. For decades, loved ones were left to wonder
what happened to Flight 293 and why hasn't there been any follow-up.
The government turned its back. Passengers and crew of Flight 293 were forgotten by everyone, except their families.
Unless we pursue it, we will never be issued a true explanation.
Unsolved Histories: What Happened to Flight 293 is available now. Follow us at unsolvedhistoriespod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Welcome back to Inside Sources. This is Erin Ryder here with Taylor Morgan. Last week, Meta announced its decision to end its so-called fact-checking program. However, at the same time, Meta is now growing its artificial intelligence offerings in the hopes that it'll appeal to younger users. So this begs the question, if Meta doesn't want legitimate fact checkers, but does want more AI, where's the balance and what do we do about it?
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about this, Erin, because it's one thing to have humans who may have a bias doing the fact checking, right? And I think we are learning more and more, of course. I think we are learning, Erin, that those humans that were doing the fact checking, the content moderation for Meta on Facebook, they did have there was a lot of bias there, right? That they were actually censoring maybe a lot more than they were fact checking, right? So having AI now step in and be the ones to quote unquote fact check, I'm not sure how to react to that. I'm not sure how to think about that. And I'm not a anti-AI guy. Like, I think AI is great, and I use it a lot for work and for fun personal stuff. I love to use AI to make fun songs for my kids, for different things. We have a lot of fun with it, right? But I will say we have a ways to go with AI, and I don't know that we want AI censoring content right now.
Well, and this is even goes farther than that. I mean, what they're looking at right now, we're looking at an article from Forbes called Meta Opens Floodgates for AI-Generated Accounts on Facebook and Instagram. So what they're talking about, they're already rolling out a wide variety of AI products, including, as this article says, a tool that helps users create AI characters on Instagram and Facebook. And the goal with this is to try and attract a younger audience, compete with TikTok, and so forth. I mean, according
Give
to
it up, Facebook. You're not getting the kids, okay? The only people that use Facebook, we know, Erin, are grandparents looking at and sharing photos of their grandkids.
And politicians.
And politicians trying to target the 65-plus reliable vote crowd, right?
Absolutely.
That is Facebook. And that is why Meta bought Instagram years ago. So to think that AI is suddenly going to win over the kids, I don't buy it. But sorry to jump in there. I'm a little skeptical of that.
Do we have concerns over a whole bunch of artificial intelligence accounts? I mean, these are fake accounts.
I mean,
they're not even real people. But they're
Facebook
acting
is
like
dominated by bots right now from China, from Russia. Like, so many users, so many profiles. Across all social media, of course, but in my experience, especially on Facebook, there is so much just fakeness. There are so many bots already dominating that platform, and you have to work hard as a user to try to filter them out. And it can often be very hard to tell a AI or a fake robot profile from a real person, right?
Yeah, and I think that's where this gets so interesting because this article talks about one artificial account that's basically an international model speaking Spanish who travels the world, has 350,000 followers, and earns between $3,000 and $10,000 a month from brand deals. This account's active on FanView, which is a competitor to OnlyFans. I mean, I don't know. This creeps me out a little bit.
Yeah.
And especially if it's getting harder and harder to tell what is real and what is not real. What could this do to the influencer world and to how social media is used if it suddenly becomes a whole bunch of artificial intelligence accounts and it's no longer real people?
It is really hard with social media. Of course, social media is a relatively new technology. It is a young technology. We as users of that technology are evolving in how we use and understand and react to social media. We know that it is having a big impact on our lives in a lot of ways. Mental health with social media is a real serious issue. There's a lot we don't know about social media and how we use it, and it is evolving, of course, as I said. Sometimes, though, with this, Aaron, I wonder if Mark Zuckerberg is just having a midlife crisis and he's dragging all of us and Meta and Facebook through it with him. He went on the Joe Rogan Experience.
He did.
He has been dressing like he's in high school.
Well, he always kind of did.
Well, even more. He has this pronounced 17-year-old bro haircut right now. I mean, I think Mark Zuckerberg is really grasping to get the younger generation on Facebook, maybe to compensate a little bit for his own age. That's just my opinion.
Now, Taylor, let me ask you, have you noticed, you said, Facebook has a whole bunch of bots on it, but have you come across any of these accounts where you're like, I don't know if that's a real person?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
What do you do when you come across those accounts?
Well, it's really difficult, Aaron, because often robots will mimic profiles of real people, and it's hard to tell the difference. Especially with AI posting content to the timeline, commenting on my posts, reacting to things, it can be really hard to tell the difference these days between a real person and a robot, and especially on Facebook. In my day job as a political consultant here in the state of Utah, I have not spent political campaign advertising money on Facebook specifically for a few years now because it's expensive and it is highly inefficient and very unreliable in terms of targeting the audience because of all of the AI, the robots. It's just difficult to really know the users, Aaron. And so I don't even bother spending political advertising money on Facebook anymore. It used to be my go-to, right? All those 65-plus voters posting pics of their grandkids. But today, because of the proliferation of inauthentic users, it's not worth the money.
Yeah, interesting. So, there are obviously concerns with this, concerns over deep fakes, which is when you take an actual person, but you create a video that looks like they said or did something they didn't actually do. That's a real concern. Artificial chatbots, sources of disinformation, relationship deceit, fraud, all sorts of concerns about this, of course. One that caught my eye from this Forbes article was the concept of the dead and internet theory. Have you heard of this concept, Taylor, the dead internet theory?
I've heard of it, but I don't understand. I don't quite understand. I really tell me about this.
Yeah, so the idea here is that according to this article, it claims that activity and content on the internet, including social media accounts, are predominantly being created and automated by artificial intelligence agents. So the idea being all the content that we're starting to now see on the internet is being put there by artificial intelligence as opposed to real people. And what does that do? How does that change the flow of information, the type of information, if it's no longer real people who are engaged in this?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, the Russian hackers really have their work cut out for them, Aaron. They have some serious competition here. But again, I say that jokingly, but again, I say that because this is not anything new, really, when it comes to social media or when it comes to Facebook. Facebook has been the platform in years past to be, exploited in this way by people pretending to be someone other than who they are, right? Or, foreign nationals or others trying to influence the discourse in elections here in America. So it's always been an issue, Aaron. I think Mark Zuckerberg, in addition to dealing with his personal midlife crisis, I think he is trying to find a way to win back advertisers on the platform and political advertisers perhaps. He knows that he has to do something about this for that to happen, and AI just might be the only cost-efficient way to do it.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what Mark Zuckerberg and some of these other folks do as time goes on. Elon Musk has already said that the fee that they charge on X for users, the whole point of that is designed to curb the relentless onslaught of bots. So, I think we have a lot more to look at as we get into this. But, we're going to see where this takes us. So thank you so much for joining us today. Tomorrow, I will be here again with Adam Gardner from 1 to 3 p.m. as we discuss Senate confirmations and Utah legislative bills focused on elections. That's tomorrow on Inside Sources, only on KSL News Radio. Next up, Jeff Kaplan's Afternoon News.